AFK Refugees podcast. Ted here, John here. We are all safe, quarantined in our houses. John returned to work, returned to the working world. John, how did that go, by the way? Did you survive it? Well, you're here.
I am alive. I am technically and physically alive. Everything else is on fire.
Yes.
But that's what life's about, right?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
keep on keeping on.
Exactly. Man, yeah, we're ready to talk some soccer, I guess. Though everything else going on in the world seems to be fighting against that. Let's jump into it. I don't think I want to like waste any time. I don't think I want to really get any time. Let's talk positive first. Let's talk Washington Spirit, Portland Thorns, 1-1 draw in the one tournament that is not a cesspool of coronavirus and positive cases, and that being the main leading story. Instead of talking about the games and the teams, for all intents and purposes. Now, I don't know if maybe because the MLS is kind of in that sort of more of a focal point, regardless of whether that's right or not. Maybe there's some things that we will find out about the Challenge Cup that maybe are a little bit either unseemly or not good. But at the very, very least, we can talk soccer. We can talk actual physical games of soccer that took place, as my video jumps in and out. So hopefully that doesn't happen very often. But the Washington Spirit 1-1 draw, Portland Thorns, a bit of an uneven game again. I think this team is still trying to figure themselves out. John, what did you make of the game?
I thought the first half was pretty bad. And then I think everyone was clamoring for Rose Lavelle and Ashley Hatch to come in, and then they came in, and then the Spirit were good. I think that's my basic analysis of the game, is that those two players came in, and then the Spirit were better. Well, that's my, official expert take.
I'll push. I'm going to push back a little bit that everybody was bad. I think
I said they were better. It wasn't. Yeah. Did I say they were all bad? Maybe I did. I don't know. I'm tired.
I mean, I do think Yokoyama looked a little better. Obviously, Ashley Sanchez with an unbelievable, just the type of play that a top player makes. And I think already, the expectation to tournament was, how does Ashley Sanchez match up to Mallory Pugh? And I think based on this, we can say that Ashley Sanchez is going to be just fine. That was an incredible assist, an incredible play. She looked more lively. She looked more energetic. I thought she was really, really good in this game, and it certainly showed. What did you, is there anything else we can really take from this game other than Ted versus Inwards? Thank you, producer Brian. I'm trying to fight a bunch of things on this connection right here. It's not going well.
As you said that, your video cut out too, so it was very perfectly timed. Yeah, Ashley Sanchez was fantastic. She is, I think, as advertised, right? I think she's come pretty much not fully formed. She's not the final product out of college, but she's certainly very close to at least competing right out of the gate as a starter. I thought Yokoyama was, I mean, she was better because her first game was so bad, but I still think there's got to be more there. I'm hoping there's more there. I guess if you're going to fail, if you fail trying an audacious pass a couple times, which is what she did, I guess that's good, particularly if your job is to create chances for whatever forward happens to be in there. In this case, it was not Ashley Hatch. There was not a lot going on the first half on the offensive side. The ball, it turned into the only opportunities were long ball, run and chase, which is not going to suit them well in the long term. The defense held up well. Portland's goal was really good. Portland's goal was a set play that they worked on, and Lindsey found a great run across goal and got an opportunity and scored. And then, as we already discussed, Sam Stobbs finishing off we'll say that it was definitely intentional back heel on the end line over back across goal. Like they probably drew that up. Richie was like, all right, we're going to get the ball right here on the end line, and we'll have you karate heel kick it. So the result seems fair, right? I think that was the takeaway that I had at this 1-1, particularly after that first half. That second half was very evenly matched. The Washington was much more inventive and direct. and they had a lot more of the ball in the midfield. Their passing got better, only from those two major changes. But like I said on Twitter, like, well, it just so happens that if you put in one of the top 5 players in the world onto your roster, you get dramatically better somehow. It's kind of funny how that happens.
And I thought that I thought personally that, and Yokoyama, don't forget, Yokoyama had a good opportunity on goal. She actually got a shot that very nearly forced a good save out of the Portland goalkeeper. Um, I think, did Ashley Sanders intend that? No, but good players, quote unquote, try things and to keep it PG. That's what made a player like Clint Dempsey so good, is that he was just willing to try stuff. That's something where Ashley Sanchez sees the ball and she's like, well, I got maybe a 20% chance this clears up and goes nowhere. But at the very rate, this whole corner kick's broken. So let me try something. She ends up making a good touch, puts the ball in a good position, and Sam Stab is there to head it in and finish it. I will agree with you. The game got a lot better once Roosevelt got in there. And the team looked better with Ashley Hatch in there. So I personally think that it was at the very least a decent performance, and in a team that's still trying to build. And I'm sure Richie Burke will say he's going out every match trying to win, but I don't think you would be remiss if maybe there was a little bit of, well, we're trying to build here. We're trying to build something. This is about next year. This is about avoiding being 8th place and having to play Carolina in our first game. And we talked about that in the pregame. So I think now we can pretty much say they've done that. Was probably confirmed by this point. But I think they're probably going to be middle of the pack. I'm guessing either 3rd or 4th. I don't think they'll be 2nd based on what I'm seeing. But a big match against Houston coming up. I think that's going to be a real, again, another kind of crucial match to maybe seeing if they can sneak into 2nd. Behind the Courage, so be fun to watch.
The undefeatable North Carolina Courage.
Yes, still playing about. All teams are, I think, suffering a little bit, but the Courage are also suffering. But they're just that good. So overall, fun match, and it's nice to talk about soccer. And we're gonna get into not soccer related things, but still in the world of soccer, but not things talking about games or players or. It's gonna get messy. I guess we're kind of maybe probably about halfway through this NWSL tournament. Is this just the nature that NWSL has done a better job at bringing players in? Obviously, there's some big differences. You got 9 teams versus 26,
and only 8 actually at this tournament.
So yeah, and only 8 actually at this tournament. You did have the whole issue with Orlando testing positive, not testing positive. That kind of played a role, I think, in that played a role in obviously maybe a knock against the league and the team and everything, that whole mess in the beginning. But since they've gotten to the tournament, you haven't heard any massive outbreaks amongst teams. You haven't heard massive positive cases. But you also got to look at the states that each of these teams chose. The NWSL chose Utah, which is actually still undergoing a spike of coronavirus. But I think just the nature of that state not being a state where people are out at pools, people are out at, beaches and other things, maybe playing a little bit into that sort of, it's been a little bit easier to control. That's not what's happening on the MLS side. There have been, and they'll say it's under control. And yes, I think it's like 13 now of like 556 players and coaches down there, which certainly isn't a big number, but you've now had a team that has had to, risk illness, travel all the way down to Florida, and now will not be participating in this tournament because they now have 10 positive COVID-19 cases. And that's not a good thing regardless of how you slice it.
Did you kick it to me? You froze again. So there's 2 things there. I think one is, and I hate to say it, the players' insistence on not going down to Orlando earlier and having this be a longer tournament and being longer away from their families likely is causing people are coming in with COVID, and they're not hitting the incubation period before they leave, and then the tests are coming up positive. And then FC Dallas had a giant cluster, and that happened. So that's not good. I don't blame them for not wanting to get there earlier. I think if they had, this probably would have still happened, but they would have had time to have everybody quarantined um, while they're there and separate and not make sure the whole team didn't get infected. Training in the home markets is a disaster right now. That tells you that the plan to have games in home stadiums and have the rest of the season is not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If this doesn't happen, there will be no MLS this year. They're going to push through. FC Dallas is gone. They're going to also have to change, in my mind, having this count for league standings. Maybe it doesn't matter because, like I just said, there will not be games after this. I can't imagine a universe in which you can have the type of testing procedure and cleanliness and quarantine that you need to have to make this work. So it is not good. I don't think that you cancel it at this point. I think maybe you postpone it here another week or two. It doesn't really matter, right? Like when they get going, if this is going to be all there is, take your time and make sure that everyone's healthy. I've not heard, the numbers are low, 1%. Well, not one. That's I think that's what they said, 1.8% or something of the total tested to have cases, and of them, 13 of them, 10 of them came from FC Dallas. When you count the players, not counting coaches. So it would be interesting to see if, there's rumored Twitter accounts. Who knows if they're true? This could be like the all the rogue like State Department Twitter accounts that came out after Trump got elected. Who knows if they're real? They're probably not. They're not. But there's an account saying like a whole bunch of Nashville players have it, Toronto players have it. That's why they haven't. I think they're finally on the way. Greg Vanney had kept his team on ice in Toronto for quite a while, maybe hoping that the whole tournament would get canceled and they could all stay home. Not happening. They're gonna come. It just seems like the testing and procedures. Having not read all of them and not being a public health professional, I think that there are some gaps, but principally among the gaps are getting them into the bubble as long as possible beforehand, before games start, would have been the best way forward to ensure that you're not coming in with COVID. But these are all people that are free human beings, and they're trying their best. I don't think anybody was intentional. I don't know if we're going to hear a story about FC Dallas players going out to the bar in Dallas before they got on a plane to come down here, like we heard about Orlando. I don't know if we're going to hear that. We probably won't hear that. But the human beings are going to do dumb stuff, or they're just going to happen to have caught it in the way everybody else does, because this is highly contagious and you can get it doing anything. To finish it out though, like it's not good that all these people are getting infected. Given stop. I would be personally concerned much more from the safety perspective if we heard about any of these players being hospitalized, serious case. If any of these players we heard were actually symptomatic, and then got the diagnosis. It seems like everything I'm hearing from these people did not know they had it, and then they're isolated, and then 7 to 10 days everybody's come back. The people who have gotten positive tests for DC United before they left and since they left followed procedure, did personal, not quarantine, but whatever they call the thing where you don't see anybody but is in quarantine, self-isolation. They've all come back. So we don't know about this disease and I'm sorry, not this disease, this virus. It could be that a lot more people have it than think they have it. If everyone was tested right now, tomorrow in the United States, every single person was tested. What would that number look like? Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to get tested because I don't feel like I have it, but maybe I do. I don't know. It's tough.
And I think there are two sides of this coin of kind of what it is. And I will say there are people, and I'm not gonna say that there are two sides to this argument. I mean, people getting sick are bad. I think the real problem where it starts to become a serious health concern is if you heard about teams coming in with 0 cases, like DC. Let's say DC comes in when they came in, no cases of COVID. They get tested, everything's good, everything's hunky-dory, and then suddenly they have 5 players that are getting tested or that are testing positive. That becomes a concern where where even the league would say we're shutting this thing down, because you then can say you do not have a bubble. The bubble does not exist if people are coming in negative and then while they are in the bubble in Orlando are testing positive. what has happened in Dallas and what has happened with Nashville. Nashville was incredibly stupid. I would love to know the foul ups and what led to what happened in Nashville, where they all boarded a bus before the test results came back, before all the test results from their COVID came back, stood on the bus, and then they got the test results back and they all had to return. Then they traveled the next day, and now 5 of their players, they could be the next team to drop out. They got 5 players now that are testing positive for COVID-19. But, and I think this is the argument that MLS is going to make. They're going to say, yes, Nashville was bad, Dallas was bad. Dallas is pulled out. Nashville's game, I mean, that game is supposed to be Wednesday. I'm starting to think that game might be delayed. Or Nashville might pull out of the tournament if those cases increase. But they're going to use the argument that it's not something that's being where it's being transmitted while teams are in the bubble, and that's going to be their argument. This thing is going to happen in some capacity. Anyone saying it's not going to happen, and I do think. I think it's a little disingenuous on the negative side to just assume that that MLS is being reckless while the teams are in the bubble. They may be reckless for the very idea of bringing them into the bubble, and I think that's where you're seeing a lot of these positive cases. People are testing negatives, they're getting on the plane, someone has the virus, maybe tested negative or picked it up while they were, in the airport, from the fact that both Texas and Florida, and here's the even more interesting thing. You look at the state that's having the worst amount of outbreak of cases, Florida. Both Orlando and Miami haven't had, at least not to my knowledge, any positive cases. And to that MLS COVID Cup, I thought it was kind of an interesting thing. It seems to me, I don't know who's running this. It seems very, very like it's trying to maybe paint a narrative that I'm not sure exists. And there have been, obviously the negative voices are going to be the loudest voices, and that doesn't mean that we shouldn't listen to them. But there does seem to me, talking with other players, Nani has said, everything's fine. This has been for the most part really well run. We don't have any concern. I don't have any concerns about how it's run. I think there was a lot of sort of incomplete information about the whole, I'll call it, I guess, sandwich gate. That was apparently not true. It's covered by the team. And even that's kind of a lie that sort of is picking up steam. Everybody's saying, oh my God, MLS is charging these guys $65 for sandwiches. And it's not even remotely true based on, correct reporting. So there's been a lot of sort of, I think, disingenuous arguments that have sort of, and misuse of facts, I guess, with this whole thing. And then
the rank and file has more problems with this tournament than the union did. Yeah. Clearly, you're getting now. CJ Sapong had a thread about it. You have these sort of phantom Twitter accounts. Clearly, some people did not want to be here. I don't know the rules about if players were able to, as they were in the NWSL Cup, just not come and get paid if they didn't feel safe. I'm getting the feeling that maybe that was not an option for them, for these teams. Although Carlos Vela is not coming.
Let's be clear. Carlos Vela is not missing that. He makes enough money. I mean, the higher paid players like Carlos Vela probably aren't missing that paycheck. A guy like Julian Gressel, a guy like Steve Birnbaum, those types of middle of the road roster guys, though, they're probably missing that paycheck. So that does sort of force them, and it's what people all over the United States are having to deal with. People who are caught between this idea, do I not go to my job? Do I potentially lose my house? Do I lose out on income to support myself or my family? Or do I risk getting this virus? And it's a horrible, horrible situation that our national leaders in our government and even statewide governors have abjectly failed us. We should be talking. Cases should be down. We have the ability to be like Europe. We have the ability to bring these cases down. And it's been such an abject failure. And that's what makes me most angry, really, more than anything else, is just how badly our whole government has failed. And this isn't me, saying, oh, it's Republicans or oh, it's Democrats. It's a complete systematic failure of our government. And it's so sad to see, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean it's a failure across the board. It's the failure of the government. It's the failure of some people. It's the failure of, we I think you and I have a disagreement about that a little bit, but um, yeah, I'm just tired of talking about it, man.
Yeah.
I'm just so tired of
we,
it.
we, we
Like,
should be we should be talking about the games. We should be previewing DC versus Toronto, but I mean, who knows if Toronto's even going to be there?
but based on their rules, this game shouldn't happen. They're supposed to be in the bubble 7 days before their first game.
Yeah.
So who knows if that uh, just delay the whole start 2 weeks. Just let
Yeah.
every team get here and let everyone get tested, and then do what you know you want to do. It doesn't matter. I don't get it.
Yeah.
The
I think
TV windows are not going to be contested. Like there's nothing else on. See, now baseball. I know baseball. You were able to not go if you had a pre-existing condition or a family member that had one. You could not go. You get paid. You got service time. It was fine. I know there are some players that if you just chose you didn't want to go, you didn't get paid. Ryan Zimmerman decided he just didn't want to go. He's not getting paid. I really wish I knew that about the MLS. I think that's always a big thing in things like this, where fans are like, shut it down, don't do it, end it, this is dangerous, don't do it. But the question is, what do these players want to do?
yeah.
Like it's a risk management decision on they're informed, they know what the risks are. If they're allowed to opt out and keep their money and live, and then they don't, well then that's what they want to do, and we should support it. It's not like I won't die if there's no MLS. It'll hurt the show,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it'll be really bad for us for this show, but this show isn't how we eat. So it really wouldn't be a big deal. But I want it to be, if they want to have it happen, if the players want to go forward and they feel safe and they feel like it's something they want to do, then good. Then I want it to happen. It's really tough for the outside to sort of make these judgments about what should go forward. NWSL, I think they've had the benefit of a smaller league, and maybe they've gotten lucky too, as far as like players coming in with fewer cases, and they had maybe a better testing protocol on the intake side. But I mean, they might. I forget who said it on Twitter. Like they may be the only ones who do this without having catastrophic or even PR backlash as a result of trying it. That's going to be over in a short amount of time. There are fewer players, no big issues about positive tests and people getting sick during the tournament. This may be the sports. Baseball's going to try. Baseball can't even test their players right now. Their players, the Nationals canceled their practice on Wednesday because the test hadn't gotten back in 3 days. So they were all just like, "We can't. This is not. This is day 2, and you can't even get our test back. This is not good."
Yeah, and I guess my question to you is, are you excited about when games happen? Well, once the games kick off, are you actually going to be excited to watch these games?
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's soccer. Like I wish there were fans. If this is going to be the only opportunity I had to see them this year, I care about these players. I care about this team. Yeah, I'm excited to see it. It's not not the best that I can get, but if it's what I can get, I'm happy for it. I take it you're not.
I'm conflicted, and we have had people on this. People have commented on this show. They sent us direct messages on Twitter. They've tweeted at us saying that they don't feel comfortable supporting this tournament because they feel like they're supporting COVID, and I have to admit I'm a little I'm conflicted. I am not as excited about this. If you had asked me a month ago, I was all pumped. I'm ready. Case things seem to be good. This seemed like a good idea. I guess a good idea at the time, and how drastically it has sort of shifted and just. These and there are people I see people out there that are like, oh, these are professional athletes. These guys are top. They're going to be fine. I'm like, you don't know that. There are plenty of stories of people who are perfectly healthy, perfectly fit, who catch this virus, and for whatever reason that maybe we'll learn, maybe we'll never learn, maybe we'll learn in the coming months and weeks. What is it that causes this virus to affect some people and not really affect others? Is I think something that is going to be hopefully learned over the coming months.
The latest story is Neanderthal DNA. That is, if you get 23andMe, it'll tell you what percentage Neanderthal you have in your DNA. But that the article out today said that is a common strain in the ventilation hospitalization for COVID. So keep that in mind. I don't know if you've done 23andMe. I'm 0%, so clearly I am invincible. But keep that in mind for those.
But I mean, the fact remains. I mean, this can affect anybody, and the absolute. I mean, I will say MLS is they're playing with fire right now. They are absolutely playing with fire. They are trusting that yes, we're going to have positive cases. And I think to your point too, the players I'm sure understood that there was a chance they would come down for this. They will pick up the virus and come back positive because of having just from the nature of having to travel inside that bubble. But I guess it sort of they had to know that when they're coming in. They had to be informed about that. I don't think anybody was naive about that. But MLS and MLS and the players, they're all playing with fire here. But I don't know if the solution is cancel the tournament and send them back at this point, because they're going to have to be stuck here regardless. They're going to have to wait 2 weeks to travel, because then they're going back to their families where they could be positive for the virus. Then they're giving it to their families, and then they're essentially causing their own outbreaks, and that's certainly something you don't want. So it's a difficult situation right now, and right now it's sort of the train speeding down the tracks, and it's going to take something monumental to stop it, and I don't know if we're there yet. Despite having positive cases amongst teams and spreading, and maybe someone's going to come in and say they should do it anyway. Maybe you're right, but
if a player goes to the hospital, that'll be the end.
Yeah, that's it.
If one single player goes to the hospital, we'll end it.
Yeah. So, and
I don't want that. To be clear, I don't want that to happen. I'm just saying from the perspective of what would be the one thing that stops all these gears in motion? It would be that.
Yeah, it's tough situation. Do we want to try to preview this Dallas this
Houston game,
the Toronto FC DC game, or do we want to even? I mean,
I don't think it's going to happen. I think that it's I think it's going to be pushed. So
yeah, and watch it get pushed to 9 a.m. and then we're definitely not doing up. That'll be the end of the pregame postgame show. Because
yeah, that'll be that. Yeah, that'll be skipped.
That'll be skipped.
Well, yeah, we'll just preview. If you want to preview, call into the preview show. We'll the pregame preview show. We'll give you that there. Just the problem for me is that we're not getting news out of these camps. I don't know anything about DC United right now. I don't know anything. I know they're practicing. That's what I got, and that I know that every single player from the roster is down there, and that Loudon is going to be without any of those young players we thought it might come and play. That's all I know. The team has been. Not that they've been tight-lipped or anything. There's just no information to share. They have practices early in the morning. They have practices late at night. They try to beat the sun. That's what's known. We don't have anything from Ben about sort of change in, if there's any sort of change in formation or tactics or anything else. We just don't know. We would be making blind BAGs.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, it's yeah. I'm kind of out of words to talk about it, to be honest, and maybe that's bad, but I just it's going all right. We're gonna go ahead. I think we've talked enough, as my calls do not have anything written on it, but call into the show. You know the number. I hope you know the number. I don't know why
they don't know the number.
They don't know the number. Let me see if I can get them the number.
Number is
there we go.
905
0454. 0454. There it is. Sorry, folks. This is what happens when I think you burn us out a little bit on shows. We're trying our best. But the phone lines are now open. Call in. Producer Brian is listening on the line, so you'll be welcome into the show.
Also, if anybody has any tips for going back to work with a 2-month-old, you can also put those in the chat. F's in the chat for how to do that would be great. Also, you can call. We can open this thing all the way up. Ted has a new dog. You can talk about that.
Yeah, I do have a new dog. I have a new dog, and he got to experience me watching sports. He hasn't. I will admit, I was getting energetic. I think I wasn't as. It was also late, so I get that 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. game. And I'll probably be doing some yelling at the TV. So he's gonna get to experience that. So I might press like and subscribe if you want like more Charlie content while Ted watches soccer
Or
games.
doggos. If you want doggos, or if you want me to wear a baby while we're doing the rest of this podcast. I wouldn't recommend it, but I could do it if that's what people want.
Yep. Do it to people.
Yeah, I mean I've had fun. I've had fun with the NWSL tournament. Like that's been fun for me. I've seen now I think almost every game. I think that'll be more fun than the MLS tournament, because the MLS tournament is going to be so many games that it's impossible to keep up with. That it's going to be there's this larger shadow hanging over the tournament that seemingly half of the fans that follow us on Twitter prefer that it be canceled. So I don't know how excited everyone's gonna. The NWSL fans are they are very excited for these games happening. They're making 500,000 vanity Twitter accounts. It's good. They're having fun. MLS fans are not having fun right now.
Yeah, the whole they got the NWSL, the sun glare. We're all experiencing the sun glare, and Audi people who watch games at Audi Field are like, that's not that bad. Yeah, you guys are a bunch of babies. The glare's not that bad. Show me on a day on.
there's a sun glare. There's a notebook account, Blanco's notebook. There's a playground. They're going. It's too much for sure. I applaud the enthusiasm. They're having a good time, but no more Twitter accounts, no more vanity Twitter accounts. But MLS is not going to do that, because MLS fans are just real sad. We've got a question in the chat, so we'll at least go with that. Hey, people would like us to talk about babies more. I can do that. Is Rose the real deal for the future of USWNT? If she can stay healthy, she is. She's shown her ability, her vision, her passing, her speed, her touch and control are world class, and it stands out in the NWSL, which is a fantastic league, but it still stands out decisively. It's just for her, it's just about staying healthy and being available. What's the cliche about the most important ability is availability. She has been thus far for this tournament, small sample size, has looked good. She did limp a little bit in that last game. Ted and I were having a heart attack.
Yeah,
after she got kicked in the ankle. I was like, don't kick her ankle. That's the bad spot. But yeah, I mean, I think so. I think she's. How old is she? She's in her mid-20s now at this point, right?
Yeah, she's mid-20s, 25.
25 is my guess.
Yeah.
Hey Siri, but whatever the age is, she's certainly in her prime. So it would have to be, the time would be now. And the U.S. team is so deep.
Hey.
Like it's just,
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was
Hello?
bringing Greg on the line. So while Greg, you're on the line. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, so you were talking about what it would take to cancel the season. I'm not even sure someone going to the hospital would cancel it. I hate to say this. I think it would take someone dying. I mean, I don't want that. I certainly don't want that to happen. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a player. It could be a coach, and I know some of them are older than the players, but I just say it. I think it's going to take. I don't think they care if someone goes to the hospital. I mean, I think it's going to take someone literally dying for them to cancel it. And I don't want it to get to that point, but.
Well, if you look at the media attention just for positive tests, I feel like an escalation just from that point would cause a media firestorm for them that they'll find not worth it. Because again, they're not making money on. They're going to spend for whatever the money they said that they were going to spend. But this tournament is going to cost them quite a bit of money. It may come out a little bit ahead, but if from a PR standpoint, I don't know that they want to take that heat. I think once it gets to the stage where you're getting reports of, I don't want to actually say someone's name, but player X has been admitted to the ICU at Orlando General, and they're talking about a ventilator. They don't want that. I think that would be
that killed. I think the PR from that, I think John is right, is going to be too much, and there's already a lot of bad publicity for this tournament. I was doing my workout today and watching SportsCenter, and they were leading with the story about FC Dallas not getting the tournament. So I mean,
I mean, if
that's
you
all they're
look at
getting.
what happened with the flu pandemic, and granted that was more than 100 years ago, but players in all sports are getting hospitalized. Even Babe Ruth, who probably had more name recognition than the president at the time, he was hospitalized during the baseball season. They kept playing. It finally took someone dying during the Stanley Cup Finals. They just shut that down. And I don't want it to get to that point, but it's
Yeah.
going to.
None of us do. I think risk aversion now is different than risk aversion then. I think people are now conditioned that
But
this is a deadly disease and it will kill you. Whereas if you even get it, people think that means you're going to die. Like it's just like that has been and it's probably good from a perspective of how do we keep people from undertaking risky behavior, sort of set that precedent that this is a very serious thing and can kill you. But I think that everyone now assumes.
Tell that to our president.
I'll call him.
Yeah.
Now that I'm back to work, I can call him.
All right, Greg. Thanks so much for the call, man. We're gonna let you go and open the line for other people to call in.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Good night.
Yeah. So, yeah, I what I will say to that is, 100 years ago is a lot different than today, and I don't. I think there have been such advances in medicine and treatment, and just in general that I don't think it'll get to that point. But I do take your point. As soon as someone's hospitalized, that's it. That's ball game, end of story. So hopefully it doesn't happen. Hopefully, and I think a breakout. I think the first game's also going to be a point of contention when Miami and Orlando take center stage, and maybe one player is out there positive, and then suddenly both teams become positive. That could be something else. Once there is confirmed transmission in the bubble, so to speak, that's it. That's it. I think for this right now, that hasn't happened, and that's why they have a positive sort of spin. They can say, look, yes, Dallas was bad. We're monitoring what's going on with Nashville, but you look at Minnesota, you look at San Jose, you look at DC, they have all arrived, and Minnesota had one positive that turned out to be a false positive. So you can say for all intents and purposes, no one's catching it once they're inside. Once they're inside the bubble, if they don't have it, they're not getting it. And that's going to be their mantra coming up. So,
yeah, within 2 weeks. That's for me. So 2 weeks from when everybody gets here, if people are still getting it then the bubble is pierced.
Yeah.
And it's not what people are bringing with them.
Yeah.
We actually have a question on Twitter from earlier, which we used to get a lot more of. So if you're hearing this and on a podcast at a later date in the future, feel free to tweet us when we talk about the show coming up. At Hoya Nick says, with the new substitution rules, which homegrown or new arrival will get time to shine? Which I think is an excellent question. My answer is Griffin Yao, based on positional depth on the right wing. And I think that of the available players, he is seen as most polished, which is not to say all the way polished MLS starter level. He had his I think he had one start last year. I want to say either against Houston or Toronto on the road. It did not go well. If I recall correctly, he got kicked a lot. He did not have a great time. He had a lot. He had more opportunities in the beginning of the season, then it trailed off pretty dramatically. But I think if we're looking at players who, because now we have 5 subs who want to make a change, particularly as players are getting their legs under them, I could see Griffin Yao coming in before I see Moses Nyman. They're going to get some run too, hopefully. Moses Nyman or Kevin Paredes. I don't imagine Kevin Paredes will play. I don't think he'll play, but I could be wrong. What do you think, Ted?
I mean, I guess the one young player maybe you're leaving out. Maybe that's because he's the one player who's. I mean, I agree with you with Griffin Yao. I absolutely agree with you. I think Donovan Pines is maybe another name that could slip in there. And he's still a young player and he's still young homegrown. But I mean, we don't think of it because he's gotten opportunities. He's gotten more opportunities than a lot of these other guys. But I mean, he's a guy I'm looking. You see with a lot of these young players, you see sort of the skill set and you see all that, but you need to see it consistently. I'll be very curious to see if we see that from him in this tournament. If and when DC United gets out there on the field. So that's sort of another player I'll be watching. We can now say Fred Brilliant is a friend of the show. We love Fred, but I think we're all kind of waiting. We're all kind of being like, okay, can maybe Donovan Pines step into that role? By the way, Matt Pollard, our good friend over at Last Word on Soccer, our Rapids person, says Jonathan Lewis is one of the 2 Colorado Rapids players who tested positive for COVID-19. Unlikely he plays the first game if it takes place on scheduled Sunday, June 12th. I guess that's July 12th. I guess that's still in Colorado, so they still have not traveled yet.
John's favorite Rapids player.
Yeah, so there we go, John. John's now no longer excited about this tournament.
John, that's right. Cancel it.
Jonathan Lewis not there. Nope, cancel it.
No, I don't care anymore. Yeah, we also anticipate having a special guest join us sometime this week, which I'm going to tease only to the extent where it's going to happen. So be on the lookout on our Twitter accounts for requests for questions. You will want to hear this one. This is our white whale that we've been going after for quite a long time. So we think we're very close. That's as much as I'll say.
Our white whale was already Aleko Eskandarian. I don't know what you're talking
about. That's your white whale. I have my own, and it's about to happen. Okay.
All right. You guys still got some time to call in 202-905-0454. Are you excited about this tournament? I'll go ahead and ask. Call in if you're excited about this tournament. Are you going to watch? Are you going to not watch? How do you feel? And give us some of your thoughts and kind of how you're feeling about this tournament. So
great tweet from Dan Steinberg this morning. So the Washington Pro team with the longest continuous color scheme and team name is going to be DC United.
Yes.
After a certain football team changes its name here in the coming weeks and months.
Funny how Dan Steinberg likes to recognize.
You be nice to Dan. He's
very choosy. He's very choosy on when he chooses to recognize DC United as a pro sports team in this city in the city of DC. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. But yes, hopefully the Washington American football team changes their name, and I will stand.
Oh, they're gonna.
Yeah, they're gonna. Crazy to think too.
That happened so fast.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't have anything like groundbreaking to say about it, but it is impressive to me how fast to me it felt very much like this is written in stone, and the fauna the grass will retake us all. RFK will be leveled to the ground. There will be tumbleweeds rolling through Pennsylvania Avenue before this changes. And then basically all that seemed to happen was Congress was like, you won't get it stadium here if you don't change your name. With the implicit subtext that like, if you do, you will. And they're like, oh yeah, we're thinking about it. We hear you. We hear you. We see you. We decided that we're going to think about it.
It's all about money. It always was all about money. As soon as the money starts to concern themselves, trust me, things happen quickly. So, yeah, I think
Calvin J says Kevin Paredes is the more likely winger replacement for Gressel on the right hand side. That was technical, but Paredes has the wheels. I think he does have the wheels, and Ben I think also was very high on him on the preseason. I'm curious how much he's going to be willing to put a completely untested player out there on display with a limited number of games in a tournament that may be the only opportunity they have to win silverware or even play this year. That could be wrong. They could, just similar to the way that some of the NWSL coaches are doing this, use this as an opportunity to give players an opportunity that they wouldn't have had otherwise. Hard to know. We'll know soon, particularly if there's media availability for Ben. I think that basically he's going to say, I'm going to try to win this. I cannot imagine a universe. In the many universes theory, there's one universe where Ben Olsen says, yeah, this doesn't actually matter too much. It's not a real thing. So I'm going to let these young players get a chance to play. There's one. It's like in Avengers, but I don't think that's this one.
Yeah. So our schedule coming up, obviously right now we are scheduled to be back July 10th, I think at 7:30 p.m. for the live pregame show for DC versus Toronto. Again, we'll see if that happens or not. Theoretically, we'll see if it happens. I decided to check. They have left today, so we'll see what happens once they arrive and what the tests come back as far as whether they're positive, negative, or what happens there. So so we will catch you guys hopefully on Friday. If not, we'll be rocking and rolling
Monday. Yeah. No, we'll see. Yeah, you'll see us Sunday.
For the Spirit Dash game. So definitely enjoy that. Thanks.
We're gonna have a special guest on that game. We're gonna have Gretchen Ham from the Spirit, the chief marketing officer, to talk about how crazy this whole tournament has been and how Spirit have been able to capitalize on all these new partnerships.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Thank you all so much for listening, checking out the show. rfkrefugees.com directs you to our Patreon site. Donate to the show. Help me get a better internet connection for the first part of this. Also, you can also check us out on Twitter, twitter.com, rfkrefugees podcast. We are doing Twitch. We are on Twitch. And John, you can tell us what the Twitch is.
Twitch.tv/rfkrefugees. If we get to 50 follows on there, something cool happens. I don't know. Producer Brian can tell us.
Yeah, producer Brian can tell us. Thank you to producer Brian for manning the phones on the show, and we will catch you guys sometime. Vamos.
Friday, Sunday, or Monday.
Yeah.
Vamos.
This